let's go straight to 9 on your sides. Rogelio Mares, he's live at Ventana Canyon with more. Rogelio?
Taja, as you mentioned, the fire has covered over 51,000 acres and now stands at 16% contained, just down actually from 19 just earlier today. Take a look at it behind me here. While recovery may seem a long way off, one expert from the University of Arizona told me that if and when it does happen, it could make the Catalinas look very different than before. Shooting straight from the hip, what will and will not grow back after this fire?
So the question of how the ecosystem is going to recover after the fire is really complicated.
Dr. Don Falk is an expert in the ecological recovery after wildfires. He's from the University of Arizona. He says some forests and species of vegetation will face a severe threat from the Bighorn Fire, depending on the intensity with which it burns.
It really depends on what we call fire severity, that is, how much impact the fire has on the things that grow there.
He provided this map made by Lauren Magrin for her master's thesis. It identifies the severities of fires that burned during the Bullock and Aspen fires back in 2002 and 2003. Falk says when researchers can make a map of the Bighorn Fire, they'll have an idea how severe and where it burned. That, he says, will give experts a better idea how nature might recover.
But when we say recovering, we tend to think, well, that means it was a forest before, it's going to grow back into a forest now.
Falk says when you're talking about natural recovery, you can't speak in terms of human lifetimes. You start talking in decades and centuries.
I'm a very optimistic person, and I always want to believe that nature is going to bounce back. But it does happen sometimes that the impacts are so severe that if it's going to recover, it could not happen in our lifetime.
Saguaros that have been burned by this fire, are we looking at a quick recovery for them, no recovery, or a long, extended recovery?
Chances are good. A lot of them are not going to survive if they've been in an area that had a lot of buffalo grass.
Falk says saguaros that burned in the lower elevations might have a difficult time recovering just because they aren't as adaptable to fire as conifers and other species.
It doesn't mean that the saguaro as a species is going to go away, but it does mean that the 200- or 300-year-old ancient saguaro forest that we have is going to be severely impacted. Dr.
Falk told me one very apparent change that could happen to the landscape would be on Mount Lemmon itself. He said it wouldn't surprise him if the mountain looked very different after the fire is contained and new vegetation makes its way to that peak. For now, reporting live from Ventana Canyon, Rogelio Mares, KGUN 9 on your side.